This is Voluminous, a listening books podcast for every kind of reader, but especially for fans of audiobooks. I'm Jessica Stone, and this is the penultimate episode of this particular season. And for these last two episodes, we're celebrating the 60th birthday of listening books, founded in 1959. So as is usual, for the first episode of the month, we're going to do a roundup of books around a given theme. But in honor of listening books, that theme is going to be some of our members' favorites. To do that, I have with me one person you've heard on the podcast before, Amy Flinders. Hi, Amy. Welcome back.
Hello.
Remind us what it is you do all day.
That sounds very like you're accusing me of not doing anything.
It's absolutely passive aggressive.
Well, I'm the copyright manager, and that's a fairly confusing sounding job title. But basically, I organise the contracts that we have with publishers, which allow us to buy in the books, and then I buy in the books.
Yeah. So you're a really good
things.
one for this particular topic because those book requests that members have go to you.
Yes.
And you get them in. So you have a better insight than many into what listening books members really like in their reading material.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I suppose I have an insight to what the members who contact us like because there's many people out there who maybe are shaking the fist at the catalogue being like, why don't you get this in? But there are people who contact us quite a lot, and so I'm aware of what these people like, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like the fable of the squeaky wheel, or maybe it's not a fable really, just what is that called? The the squeaky wheel.
I know not of the squeaky wheel.
What?
No, I don't know. Yeah.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil or the grease or whatever.
So somebody that says what they want gets what they want.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the parable or it's a teaching lesson.
An adage.
Adage. Yes, exactly. Gosh, we have got sidetracked.
Yeah, sorry. Already.
I have not even introduced our third chair. We've got one person new to the podcast, although you have already heard his dulcet tones. And that is Wail Qasim.
Yes.
Wail, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us what you do here at Listening Books.
I'm one of the 2 library and membership officers. So I really speak to our members and make sure the books go out to them.
Aha. So if there are any complaints or preferences, you get to hear about them.
I get to hear all about the preferences that our members have.
There are never any complaints, surely.
No.
Never.
I mean, complaints are just preferences expressed in a different way anyway.
Oh, see why he's got this job.
Wow, that is so smooth.
Well, tell me a little bit about some of these preferences. For my own amusement, I'm sort of interested in the quirkier, the better. But what sort of preferences get expressed to you?
Well, I've been trying to figure out the most popularly requested books in our CD catalogue because those are the books that I deal the most with. So I've had a little look around, and surprise, surprise, Agatha Christie features quite highly.
Yeah, that's no surprise.
No, not really. And Arthur Conan Doyle. And I guess you're seeing the theme emerging here.
Yes.
Crime novels, and especially the cozier end of crime novels, are very popular with our members.
There is quite a spectrum of crime novels. Like, a lot of them are not cozy at all. I just finished editing one that was not what I would call cozy.
No.
So, yes, there is quite the gamut, but our members tend to prefer the cozier end, the less gruesome end.
What we call gentle crime,
yes.
Or you might think of as mystery novels. So there's a body that's been discovered, and the intrepid detective has to figure out how this body came about.
But there's not usually much blood involved or anything like that.
No.
I think there is quite a lot of call for the more gorier end though sometimes, or like the grittier side, like Stuart McBride. Everyone likes his novels, and I think they're very much not cozy.
No.
I don't think. I think Peter James as well. The series, which is they all have dead in the title, like You Are Dead. They are dead. We are dead. We're all dead.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah. I think cozy is very popular, or gentle crime, as you say. But then I think everyone quite a lot of people like the grittier side as well. And Martina Cole as well. Like she's quite gory and sweary and stuff. And yeah, I think that goes down well with a lot of people too.
But we've recently got in a load of Agatha Christie novels in our CD library and on the online library too. And in the CD library, at least, they've been incredibly popular, even though we've already had a lot of Agatha Christie's work. So I think that's just a testament to the enduring quality of that kind of cozy golden age crime writing.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a link between the gentle crime and also like a historical element as well, because in our online library we have a series, I think it's called the Maggie Hope series, and it's by Susan, I think I'm pronouncing this right, Susan Elia McNeil, and it's about a female spy in the Second World War, although I think in the first novel she isn't a spy yet because she's been trained, but because she's a woman she can only work as a secretary. So she works as a of course. So she works as a secretary for Winston Churchill, but because she's so close to him, she kind of has like an in to doing more interesting stuff. And then I think kind of beyond that in the series, she then starts working for MI5. So there is definitely a link between, the sort of like historical nostalgic element and then the crime side as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think there's something about the comfort of familiarity for both of those. You kind of, know what to expect, and the surprises are going to be more delightful than horrific. And know,
a delightful crime. Yeah.
They're going to be a little more, the delight is going to come in the cleverness of it or something like that. But you kind of, know what to expect. Yeah, there is something about the familiarity of it, I think. Yeah. That's kind of comforting and cozy, as you say.
I guess there's also something about the distance of it as well, in time at least. So the fact that these stories are set in the past and usually around the war or slightly before the wars or slightly after the Second World War.
Does that make it seem less real, perhaps? Or
it might be maybe a kind of thinking of different, not necessarily better, but different times that are familiar, like you said. And I guess a lot of people are kind of trying to escape our current time. So definitely early 20th century settings seem to be quite popular. And that's another area that's really kind of popular with our members who use the CD library, at least, the family saga category. And some people talk about these as social history romance novels. So they often tend to be set in Liverpool or other dock areas and involve families over an extended period of time where poverty, working class culture, single motherhood and topics like that are the main theme. And they're quite popular with our listeners at Listening Books. And though the family sagas kind of center in on difficult situations and difficult lives, which I'm sure is part of the appeal, it also seems to be a way into the social history of the time, I guess, and people experiencing through those characters what it was like to live in a different era and a different sort of Britain.
Yeah. What are some examples of the family sagas?
Yeah, so the Deverell Chronicles are quite popular in our CD library. Not quite the same, but Nadine Dorries' Lovely Lane series is quite popular and has that same sort of social history element to it, and definitely centered again on the lives of women mostly. And some of my favourites, which are sort of more literary, are the Elena Ferrante Neapolitan novels.
I've read those.
Yeah, so those novels were very popular a few years ago, and Elena Ferrante is an incredible writer and gives an amazing image of Neapolitan Italy.
And in fact, I listened to those as audiobooks rather than reading them in their printed format, and because I had needed to listen to them in a rush, I had sped up the playback time on them. And I remember that the narrator voiced one of the characters quite quickly anyway. It was one way of distinguishing that character from the other main character. It was just that she had a very quick clipped way of speaking. And so once you sped up the playback, the effect was quite exaggerated, but I could always tell who was speaking.
Yeah. Well, I read those novels before my conversion to audio, but I always wonder in these sort of books with huge kind of sprawling casts over many volumes, just how you distinguish between characters like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have a good episode with Bronwyn Price on just that topic. Amazing. Actually, you should listen to it.
Because I wonder that as well, like, you not run out of voices eventually. Like, surely there's only so much one person's voice can do. But I suppose that's, if you're a talented voice actor, you'll have, several in you. At least 3.
At least 3.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting actually, those Elena Ferrante novels. I didn't think, I've not read them, I confess, but I didn't think of them as sagas. But I guess, you're right. They are similar kind of theme. Yeah, they are, obviously set in a different time and place and marketed a bit differently as well, which is interesting because, sometimes when I'm choosing books for the members, I know exactly what to look for just by the covers because everything is marketed very specifically. But those books, they do have like a woman on the front.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes. And
just looks a bit more stylish.
Well, I think the first one has the cover is of a sort of beach scene. And I got the impression that with the English translation covers of the Elena Ferrante novels, they were going more for a kind of holiday reading vibe, which is exactly where I read them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I look for the sagas, it's normally, there's always a lady on the front, and she is normally dressed in, clothes for the time period, and maybe there's a cobbled street in the background.
Is there a suitcase?
Sometimes a suitcase, and she normally looks quite sad. So that's that's normally what I look for. And you can kind of tell that's the sort of genre that it's going to be.
So not this time because I did not know in time to prepare, but the next time you're on this podcast, Amy, the game is going to be around this talent of guessing the genre based on the image that I described to you of the book cover.
I'd be really up for that.
Yeah. I think you'd smash that one.
Although actually there's some that would be a bit confusing or would throw me a bit, I think, because actually I was going to mention in the cozy crime area, there are some animal related ones as well, which I sometimes feel like I'd be a bit drawn to because I know crime isn't my genre really, but if anything's got an animal in it, I'm like, I have read those elephant ones. The first one anyway, the Inspector Chopra books, where he has a little elephant sidekick. But there's also what's it called? Magical Cats mystery series, right?
Ooh,
which is
I'm in for that.
Cozy crime. But then I think the main character in it, they're by Sophie Kelly, by the way. I think she has kind of she solves crimes, but then also has her cats by her side at the same time. And the front covers of those, they kind of look like they might be children's books because it's like got a cat on the front, but actually it's cozy crime for adults featuring cats, which I think sounds good.
I was just reading the and I wasn't planning to talk about it, so I don't remember the author's name. I feel so bad. But it's the Japanese book about the cat and his human. Is it the Traveling Cat Chronicles? Or something like that. And I was reading it as on my commute to and from London and cried on the train. I cried on a crowded train reading about this cat because a lot of it's from the cat's perspective, and his human is dying. That's the whole. You kind of learn by degrees why he's trying to find a new home for his cat, and it's just the thing is like it wouldn't even have to be a terribly good book for that to make me cry. It's like it's the notion of it itself, because anybody who's ever loved a pet would I would like to think would just dissolve.
I don't need any narrative really to cry at that kind of idea. I literally cry at adverts that feature animals and pets. So I understand completely.
Well, for dog fans,
yes,
we did recently get a book into the library called The Art of Racing in the Rain, which I believe is from a dog's perspective.
It is.
Oh,
I think I'd
okay.
quite like to read that. And the film of that is coming out this year actually as well, which is partially why I got the book in. But yeah,
I feel like we could possibly do a whole episode on books that are from an animal's perspective. I think there are enough of those. I think that's a good idea. Did I interrupt you, Amy? Were you in the middle of saying something?
What was I saying? I was just talking about those cat books, wasn't I? No, I think I was done with that. Oh, just that they've got all quite good pun names as well, which I enjoy. So Curiosity, Thrill to the Cat is one of them. Sleight of Paw, Copycat Killing, and Cat Trick. Yeah, I enjoy all of those titles.
I love a good cat pun, except I have no tolerance for perfect. Like anything with...
Oh, it's overused, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so overused. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I first encountered it in primary school, when I went to a new school and my new mate sent me, wrote a little note that said, I don't remember what it said, but it used that perfect. And I thought it was really clever then.
Yeah.
But it has not aged well.
It's not, no. It's not going to last forever. I'm sorry.
We know about your day job. What's your moonlighting job, Amy?
Don't make me say it after I've just made a terrible pun. Don't make me say it.
The lowest form of humor. Go on.
I do stand-up comedy.
Yes, she does.
But I don't usually make cat-related puns. I probably have done.
That's her entire stand-up routine, guys.
Yeah.
Right, I've got us off track again.
Yes.
Well, I did identify a second popular genre with our CD members at the least. I don't know a huge amount about the online reading choices,
right? But this is because members can either order CD or they can download a digital copy.
There's definitely
online.
crossovers.
Right?
I think, most people who, if genres that are popular in CD will be popular online as well. I think, sorry, do carry on.
Well, just and I think what interested me about this is that the family sagas tend to have kind of lone women figures as their main characters. But this other genre, which is, I guess, nautical fiction in general, much more situated around sort of lone male figures. And so the fact that these are both quite popular in the library is really interesting. So that's series like the Hornblower series by C.S. Forrester, which I think is where this genre sort of finds its foundation really, and the Aubrey Maturin series. So they tend to be kind of accessible epics set on the seas, and involve adventure, psychology, and a bit of, I guess,
swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling.
I was going to say masculinity, but swashbuckling is definitely, the descriptor.
So that's really interesting. Have you noticed whether it's similarly divided by gender as to who's requesting these books?
I mean, yeah, almost always, but I'm not entirely sure I want to draw inferences from that.
Yeah. No, fair enough. That's fair.
I think it'd be really interesting to have a saga series with a man in the ahead of a struggling family in the wartime or something. Have a father at the center, a single dad maybe
standing on cobblestone steps.
Yes, looking sad with a suitcase and his baby. No, seriously,
Yeah,
I think it would be good. And then you'd
Absolutely,
have some naval swashbuckling with I was going to say female pirate. They're not pirates. I know they're not. How little I know about them.
Captain.
High seas. Yeah.
Captain, sailor. Yeah. Yeah. I think that,
Is that your, I gather that's not your genre either.
How can you tell? No, I've not read too many.
I can't say that I have either.
And one thing that gets requested quite a lot is teachers in the countryside.
Teachers in the countryside.
Yeah.
That is very specific.
So there's a couple of different series, and it's normally like someone moves to a new area and they're the new teacher in school, and it's about kind of like all the new experiences they have in this new village or town. It's that kind of thing. And there's, I think the main series I'm thinking of is just called the Teacher series. By Jack.
That's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, it says what it is. It's
Aptly
what it says on the
named.
tin.
Yeah.
By Jack Sheffields, and yeah, I think it's exactly that. It's a teacher that moves to a new school, and he's the headmaster actually, I think. And it's dealing with the different children and the crazy characters that pop up in the school. I think that there's a caretaker. And a dinner lady and a love interest obviously as well, of course. So they get requested quite a lot, I think. Again, I think it's a nostalgia thing because these books I think are set firstly in the 70s. I think it goes through to the 80s and 90s as well. So it's kind of, more recent history involved there. I don't know if it does go into like the local or the social history of the time that much, but I think it does a little bit because I read a bit about, he kind of incorporates Thatcher into it a bit as well, and that she was... the Prime Minister at the time. So I think it does go into the social history a bit. But yeah, slightly more recent.
It just occurs to me. So if you're talking about historical settings, even until, somewhat modern times, the thing that Teacher has going for it in terms of writing a book is that you can have a female lead character who, by her very profession, has a lot of connections with lots of other characters in the village, just because she would have, and you mightn't find that as easy with a housewife. I guess what I'm saying is that, the teacher is sort of the corollary to like the clergyman role, in that they are central community figures who are fun to write about from a plot and character perspective because they have so many interactions naturally with the whole community without having to devise lots of different ways for them to come into contact with others. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Especially if it's like a headmaster figure who's kind of... Yeah, I think they're supposed to be quite feel good as well. I read the last line of the blurb for the first book says, "It will make you feel better no matter what kind of day you've had," which that sounds nice.
I mean, big promises there.
Yeah, I mean, if you read that and you feel worse, I mean, you're going to be disappointed. But I mean...
I'm calling Wail to explain my preferences.
We're always happy to take those calls.
Yeah. I just read the Teacher series and I had a really good day. I made it worse. No, I'm sure I wouldn't do that. So I think, they're generally quite similar to the cozy crime genre, I guess. Yeah, just quite feel good. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the cozy crime, actually, when you were talking about all those different professions.
Yeah.
It seems to be a feature of cozy crime that usually the person investigating the crime is not a police officer or a detective.
Right.
They are the country parson or the teacher or the farmer.
Yes.
But I guess there's
or an actor.
Or they're retired. They're a retired detective and they just can't give up the day job.
I guess there's this hero element to that then. So you feel that, whatever your role in life is, you can also be this person who solves mysteries.
Maybe I might start solving mysteries.
I think we should all start solving mysteries.
Okay, since you were so good to come in and talk about some of the preferences of other people, I'd love to know what the two of you have been reading, especially if it's been anything that you're really eager to talk about that's been that good. And I guess because I've heard from Amy before. Wait, I did say I was going to be polite, didn't I? No, I'd love to hear from Wail because this is your first time on the podcast, Wail, and I haven't had a chance to get to know your reading preferences yet. So, what do you like to read?
Well, I have quite broad tastes in reading, and I'm kind of the sort of person who's happy to try anything out. I really like literary fiction, but I was thinking about what I've been reading recently, and I couldn't come up with a coherent way of kind of putting that forward. So I thought what I'd actually talk about is the fact that I really got into reading just in general because of philosophy. And I know that sounds terribly boring, but it's true. I didn't read very much actually when I was growing up, but then I discovered this genre of writing that people did, which was about thinking about the world, and it absolutely caught me and made me really enjoy reading all sorts of other literature as well. So there is this anonymous quote, or witticism really, which is that it's the job of a philosopher to know what is said in those books that they have not read. I feel like that's why I was hired here at Listening Books. Because I know about those things that our readers and our listeners enjoy, but I haven't necessarily read myself.
You're like the Plato then of listening books.
Yeah. Sort of. I mean, philosophy is, philosophy is love of wisdom, philosophia. And this isn't going to be Greek words all the way down, but there's something dangerous about people dreaming and thinking of things differently. And Socrates and a lot of philosophers through history have been those people who think about things differently.
So is it purely philosophical, like non-fiction books that you read, or is it fiction books that explore philosophical questions, or both? Give me some examples.
Yeah, so definitely both. But I spent many years reading non-fiction philosophy books that got more and more dense. And then I escaped that world, and I really needed to pick up some fiction.
How did you escape?
I finished my degree.
What was your degree in?
Philosophy.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. You did do a degree in philosophy. Okay, cool.
I needed to go to the world of fiction and just escape that kind of more dry way of looking at philosophy. But then I guess once you've been sort of trained in that way or been told about thinking in that way, it's quite difficult to just forget about it. So I found that, quite a lot of fiction is philosophical, and kind of asks of its readers to think about ideas. And so maybe a recent example that has been republished and made into a television series that did very well is The Handmaid's Tale. It is an incredibly philosophical bit of writing, and really asks questions about our world, even though it's this dystopian novel that's supposedly about a completely different world.
What sorts of questions is it asking?
I think it's asking us to think about gender, and asking us to think about the sort of work that women do in our society. It's asking us to think about authoritarianism. So what is our approach to how politics works? What do we like in our democracy? What do we find valuable in the societies that we live in, have lived in? It's an incredibly poignant novel. So, and I think that any reader or listener to The Handmaid's Tale will pick up on these ideas and don't need to find themselves immediately in the sort of more dry ways of discussing the important but dry ways of discussing these exact issues.
People don't have to read Plato in order to read philosophical books.
Absolutely not.
Right.
No.
Whew.
And
I think that sigh of relief was on behalf of a lot of listeners, I think.
I mean, it's on behalf of me now as well. I described it as an escape for a reason.
Yes.
And another writer who's really interesting for this is Umberto Eco, who has done a lot of philosophical writing, like actual philosophical work, and including reflections on what authoritarianism is. And he has this sort of political philosophy. is also a crime novelist. So The Name of the Rose, The Prague Cemetery are really good novels by Umberto Eco.
Oh, I'm glad, because I do have them at home. I have them lined up to read, but I haven't read them yet.
Yeah, the ever-growing pile of...
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some incredible philosophical literary fiction over here with Wail. Amy, what have you got for us?
Well, actually, similar to Wail, when I was younger, I didn't read that much either. Like, I did when I was a kid. And then I think when I got to like my early teens, I was like, reading. Ugh. And I didn't really want to, it wasn't kind of something that interested me that much anymore, even though I ended up doing an English A-level, and then half my degree was in English as well. But I think that was kind of one of those cases of just like not really knowing what I wanted to do. And then I ended up going off to university and thinking, oh yeah, I'll do, I did film studies also with English as well. So yeah, but at that point, I think I'd only really read the set texts for GCSE and A-level, and then the children's books that I'd read as like before I was 12, because I just did no reading for pleasure. And I kind of didn't really think that you did read like classics for pleasure. I just didn't realize that's what people did. I thought you had to read those books.
Who do you blame for this?
I blame...
That is the philosophical question.
Yes. I blame the government. No, I don't. I remember having a conversation actually with two friends. This is a bit of an aside, but they were talking about which Jane Austen books that they had read. This was at university, and they asked me what I'd read, and I was like, "Oh, we didn't have to do that at school." And they were like, "Oh, neither did we." And I was like, "What? You just read them?" And then I was like, "Oh, okay, you can read classic." And actually, so after my degree, during my degree, I kind of just read the books that were, you know, I had to. But then after that, I spent another, like, the next 10 years catching up with books that I should have read.
That sounds intense.
Yeah. So I tried to get through quite a few classics since I realised that you could read them for fun. But I actually do also quite like literary fiction as well. And actually, I think a way that I got kind of into reading, or the way that I sometimes choose books to read, is also through films. Weirdly, I like watching the films first and then going back to the book.
Yeah.
Because I do think most of the time the book is kind of the most satisfying way to experience the story. Mm-hmm. So then if you watch the film first, you'll enjoy that in its own right, and then you can go back and kind of experience the story again and then some.
Right.
And I think
rather than the other way around. I'm following you here. Yeah, the other way around, you risk being disappointed by the film.
And I think you nearly always would be, not because the film would be bad, just because inevitably they have to miss out some of the story, some of the characters will go. And it's just a bit of a lesser experience, I guess. I think one of the only films I've watched where I thought it was almost better than the book was Room, which was out a couple of years ago. And I thought, and it was adapted by the author of the book, actually.
Emma Donoghue.
Yeah, that's quite rare that a novel gets adapted by the novelist. I think that doesn't often happen. But she adapted it herself. So I think she kind of knew exactly what to keep in and kind of what bits were maybe a bit superfluous and could take out. But yeah, I think I enjoyed that as much as maybe slightly more than the book.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of the only times where that's happened.
And did you read it after you'd watched the film?
Yes. So I listened to the audiobook after I watched the film.
Because I do think that one of the things that stayed with me from reading the book was the disorientation at the beginning of trying to figure out what's going on, because his world is so small, and as he refers to this child and his mother are trapped in a confined space.
Yeah.
And so a good chunk's finding out from the child's point of view, which obviously is limited in knowledge. And so the reader also is limited in knowledge for a while. And so as he's describing his environment, I just remember the sort of disorientation of just trying to figure out what the parameters of his world were and why they were so narrow.
Yeah.
And I think if you've already seen the film, obviously you know why immediately.
Yeah.
So you're not going to experience that same kind of like the dawning realization of what's going on.
I suppose that is one thing. Yeah, obviously, if you've seen the film before, then there's not gonna be any surprises when you read the book. But then, I don't know if that always matters, really. Somehow, like,
I suppose it matters more with some than with others.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's definitely not the only thing that matters.
No,
for sure.
Yeah, and it depends on the book, I suppose. Like,
Yeah.
if there's a book that really is reliant on you not knowing spoilers, like I think something like Gone Girl, actually, like the twist in that is so kind of like kind of major. I think maybe that would be spoiled actually if you'd seen the film first, then maybe you wouldn't want to bother with the book. I don't know. I'm changing my mind as I'm speaking. But
you're allowed to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so a book that I've literally just finished listening to. Did I just say finished listening to? I just finished it.
We just want to be clear that you have ended.
Yeah. I just said that sentence and realised, did I say some words the wrong way around? I don't know. I'm tired. The book is The Remains of the Day. So I watched the film probably about a year ago now, or maybe slightly before. And I'd always wanted to watch the film for ages. And I watched it and I thought, well, why didn't I watch this sooner? This is great. And then I wanted to read the book or listen to the book immediately afterwards, but didn't get around to it until just now. So yeah, I've just completed that. And I thought it was really great. And I've listened to one Kazuo Ishiguro, I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. Listened to Never Let Me Go before and seen the film as well. That's really good too. But yeah, I really loved it. And I quite often like books where like on the surface it kind of seems like there's not a lot happening in terms of like plot twists and exciting kind of there's no like murders or explosions or anything kind of in the main narrative. But this book is basically about a man remembering things. But you kind of, through his memories, you kind of work out quite, I suppose he's a butler in quite a large house in England throughout the 20s and 30s. And about 10 years after that, he's going on holiday for a week to meet the housekeeper that he used to work with. And during that holiday, he sort of is remembering everything about working with her and working in this household and coming to terms with certain difficult things about the man that he worked for, who he dedicated his life to. And it's sort of through his memories, you build up a picture of all these people. I think the author as well, he often uses memory or like misremembering things as like a theme, and how much we can trust memory. We can't, yeah. And yeah, there's quite a few occasions where the main character will say, he'll kind of describe something that happened, and then we'll say, oh, but actually I'm not quite sure if that was like that, or maybe that happened at a different time. I don't know. So it kind of gives the story a slight kind of like, I suppose he's like an unreliable narrator in a way, and makes the story a little bit, I suppose, fallible, I guess. But then, the character he seems on the surface like very sort of, he's like a bit of a robot, doesn't have many emotions, but then actually kind of through the whole book, you kind of figure out exactly what's going on with him. And I think what you were saying earlier about like, what was the book that you said you cried about? Oh, the cat book. You cried about the cats. Yeah, I don't often cry about books or when I read books or listen to them, but I was listening to this on the way to work the other day and I had a bit of a lump at my throat at the end. So yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good, and it was read very well by Dominic West as well. But unfortunately, I was just imagining Anthony Hopkins the whole time because he plays him in the film, and Emma Thompson as well. She plays the housekeeper. Yeah. So that is a danger as well. I suppose if you watch the film first, you're just always imagining the actors, and they kind of take over the character in your mind, I think.
Oh, these are excellent choices, guys. I feel like it may be time to switch things up again and play a bit of a game.
Sure, yeah.
Even though it's clear that we could talk longer about the things that you've been reading, because whatever about your childhoods, you're quite the readers now. So for our game, I thought that since we are celebrating the 60th birthday of listening books, that our game should also be thusly themed.
Okay.
I feel as though Amy has a distinct advantage over me in this game.
No, I don't think she does.
Oh, okay.
No. And the reason why, so initially I was going to make it about listening books, and find out any sort of listening books sorts of trivia that could stump you. But then I really want listeners to be able to play along as well. And I was kind of worried about Amy having an advantage, having been here a bit longer. So
I haven't been here since 1959. I wouldn't have that much of an advantage.
You've been here longer to learn the lore, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So instead, what I did was look up what other things are also celebrating their 60th birthday.
Okay.
Specifically books and bookish related events. So we're going to take turns. And I also came up with a complicated scoring system.
Oh, every good quiz.
So because we're taking it in turns, and it's a kind of multiple choice sort of thing. If you get it right on your go, you get 5 points. And if you don't get it right, I'm going to give your opponent the opportunity to make their guess.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get it right, if they steal it from you, they get 2 points. I think that's fair because obviously the choices will have been whittled down to a 50-50 chance by then.
Yes.
So we shall see. All right. Amy, which of these books was not published in 1959? 1984 by George Orwell, The Manchurian Candidate by Richard Condon, The Tragedy of American Diplomacy by William Appleman Williams. Have you sensed a theme?
This is really hard. I have a feeling that 1984 might have been published a bit earlier than that.
Is that your final answer?
I mean, it's going to have to be because that's the only tiny little bit of information in my brain that I've got to go on.
You are right.
Hooray.
You are absolutely right. It was actually published in 1949.
Ah, there we go.
So yes, it was earlier.
I've learned something there because I always thought that it was published in 1948 because I just remembered it as the 84 the other way around.
Well, in fairness, it's entirely possible that it was and that my source is wrong because one of my sources was wrong with another book that was on here and I had to go back and dig and it was actually off by a year. So it is possible.
They're just using a different calendar.
Yeah. But in any case, 1984 is the odd one out there. Okay, well, it's your turn. Which of these not published in 1959? Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry, or To Sir with Love by E.R. Braithwaite.
That's difficult.
It is difficult. This one is actually particularly devious.
Okay.
Because the odd one out is off by only a year.
Oh, goodness.
So they are all quite contemporary.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to take a guess.
Okay.
Almost entirely in the dark.
Yeah.
Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe.
Did you guys cheat? Did you peek? Did you
Really?
peek at the answers? Yes, that's right.
That's what I would have gone for
Yes,
as well.
really?
We're just, yeah.
Wow,
Well,
I
you're
thought I had
just
made
on
this
point.
too hard, and clearly I didn't make it hard enough. Yeah, so Things Fall Apart was published in 1958, and that was the one that my initial source said was in 1959.
Okay.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, so that's the odd one out. Back to you, Amy. Same thing. Which of these not published in 1959? The Tin Drum by Gunter Grass, Travels with My Aunt by Graham Greene, or Hawaii by James A. Michener.
So Travels with My Aunt is who did you say that was by again?
Graham Greene.
Graham Greene. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna go with that one, I think.
Are you kidding me?
I'm so not kidding you. Did I get it right?
Yes, you got it
Yay!
right. That one was published in 1969.
Oh, okay, right. I was wondering if that was a bit later because Graham Greene, I think, is mainly
Yeah.
after that. I think.
Yeah. I suppose if I hadn't been trying to be clever and do them by decades, if I'd done more of them that were just a year off, maybe
Yeah.
maybe I'd have a chance at stumping you. But right, okay. Last one of this set, and then we may have to have a tiebreaker.
Okay.
So, which of these three not published in 1959? Robert Bloch's Psycho Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House, or Peter Straub's Ghost Story?
I'm going to go with Psycho.
Oh, the streak has ended.
Oh.
Yeah, Psycho and The Haunting of Hill House were both published in 1959. They both turned 60 this year. It's Peter Straub's Ghost Story, which is one of the best-selling horror novels of all time.
I was gonna answer that one.
Yeah, well, you would have been right.
It was.
Yeah.
It was published in. Oh, yeah, I didn't even give her the chance.
That's what I meant. I was gonna have a go at that one. I didn't know if it
Sorry.
was. I didn't know if it was. What did you say? Peter Straub was the one that was not.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was 1979.
I'm not sure if I would have gone for that one. I didn't think it was Psycho because I think the film came out only a year after that. So I don't think they would have made it that quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure if I would have known between the other two.
Well, I do have one more as a tiebreaker anyway, and I think so. I know it's not a tie anymore,
No.
but I think this one could be fun. So
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to Wail first, and then over to Amy. Which of these events did not take place in 1959? Radcliffe Hall's lesbian novel *The Well of Loneliness*, convicted of obscenity in the United Kingdom on first publication in 1928, is republished posthumously in the UK by Falcon Press with no legal challenge made against it. That's one of them. D.H. Lawrence's *Lady Chatterley's Lover* is one of a trio of books, the others being *Tropic of Cancer* and *Fanny Hill*, the ban on which is fought and overturned in court with assistance by lawyer Charles Rimbar in the United States. The book, published in 1928, legally circulates in the US after a 31-year obscenity ban. That's the second event. And the third, the Obscene Publications Act in the United Kingdom becomes law, coming into force on August 29th, requiring a work to be considered as a whole, permitting a public good defense against a prosecution for obscenity, and making prosecutions for obscene libel difficult. These were taken word for word from Wikipedia, by the way.
Okay. I have a feeling that number 3 about UK obscenity law did not happen in 1969 and happened much later.
Okay, well, the year that we're looking for is 1959, just in case that recalibrates your...
Come on, Will. Keep up.
Okay.
Does that recalibrate your thinking?
I have a feeling that... yeah. Well, no, I'm going to stick with that.
You're going to stick with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That is not correct.
Yeah.
Amy, would you like to have a go? We've got the lesbian novel *The Well of Loneliness*.
Yeah.
We've got *Lady Chatterley's Lover*, and then we've got the Obscene Publications Act.
So hang on, wait. One of these didn't happen.
In 1959. Yeah.
I am going to go for the second one.
*Lady Chatterley's Lover*?
Yeah.
No, actually, both of those happened in 1959. So not that *Lady Chatterley's Lover* was published then, but that the ban on it is overturned. And it recirculates after a 31-year... That's a long obscenity ban. No, the one that didn't happen in 1949 was Radcliffe Hall's lesbian novel *The Well of Loneliness*, which was republished posthumously in the UK. It had been convicted of obscenity, and it was republished without any legal challenge made against it in 1949.
Oh,
So,
earlier.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the D.H. Lawrence one and the Obscene Publications Act both happened in the same month of 1959. They happened just within days of each other. So it was quite a turning point, I suppose, in terms of banning books. Or not, as the case may be. Yes. So we have a clear victor here, Amy.
Hey, what do I win?
You win this invisible medal and glory.
You could have pretended there was an actual medal there.
Yes.
No one else would have known.
Yes. No, you get the glory for now. Maybe we'll
I'll
take
that.
Maybe we'll take your picture and use it in our social media promotion of the podcast episode.
Oh, I would love that. What a prize.
I think I should have a crown made for the victor for these things. All right. I think that brings us to the end of this penultimate episode. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for listening to us. Our next episode, we'll be chatting with Gilly Howarth, who chairs our board of trustees and who knew the founder of Listening Books, Norma Skemp, personally. So if you're not already familiar with all that we do here at Listening Books and how it all started, do make sure you listen to that one. If you're enjoying this series, or if you'd like to recommend a topic for the next one, do give us a shout on Twitter or Instagram at Listening Books, or on Facebook at Listening Books 12. We always love to hear from you. Voluminous is produced by Listening Books, a UK charity providing audiobooks for people with an illness, physical or learning disability, or mental health condition which affects their ability to read print or hold a book. If that's you or someone you know, you can find out how to access our more than 8,000 titles, plus 60 more just added especially as a birthday treat, by heading to listening-books.org.uk.